Today is quite a different day because we're going to be interviewing somebody of a different nationality who already scored a band 7 in the IELTS exam, and she happens to be Iranian. So let's go through a speaking test, pretending that I will be meeting her for the very first time. So, Spring, are you
Yes, sir.
ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I like her name, Spring.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, maybe you should marry somebody by the name of Summer or something.
I'm married
Right.
already, sir.
Oh, you are? Okay. All right. Sorry. Okay, for this first part, we will just be talking about yourself. So, first of all, could you tell me your name, please?
My name is Pahore Sarkat Mokata.
And how should I call you?
You may call me Spring.
Okay, Spring. To begin with, Spring, I want to talk about your family. Could you tell me about your family a bit? Did you hear me, Spring?
Sir, pardon me.
Could you tell me about your family a bit?
Yes, sir. I was born and raised up in the very kind-hearted family, nuclear family. I have
Mhm.
3 siblings, 1 sister and 2 brothers.
Okay. And what about your new family?
My family, yes, I married with my husband almost 2 decades, I can say, and I have twins, a boy and girls.
Oh, I see. Where were they born? Your
They
twins.
were born in Tehran, which is capital city of Iran, and then I moved to the Philippines when they were toddler.
I see. Okay. And let's talk about your work. What do you do?
Currently, I'm unemployment, but I had a job interview and I will be working as a registered nurse in one of the long-term facilities a few months from now, hopefully.
Oh, really? They accepted that even without a license.
Yes.
Okay. That was a sidebar, guys. All right. You can tell I already talked to her earlier. Anyway, and then what about your husband? What does he do for a living?
My husband, actually, he graduated from Central Philippine University. He got his master degree in business administration, 2015. Yeah, and currently he works as a not employment, as a health advocator for the international Rivet company for the food supplement.
Okay.
As a distributor, as actually.
I see. All right. And what brought you to the country?
Sir, excuse me.
What brought you to the Philippines?
The reason that I came to the Philippines, it was because, first of all, because Filipino are very accommodating, very friendly, welcoming to the foreigners. This is, I believe, this is a part of the culture. Yeah, and secondly, because the English is a second language. So the main reason for me, it was learning the English in the environment. And thirdly, because the university here is much more, the tuition actually is much more affordable to compare with the Europe and other English countries such as US.
Okay. And so how long have you been in the country?
I've been living in the Philippines since 2011, August exactly. Yeah.
Okay. How has it been so far?
Everything was so good. The only challenge that I had when I came, it was adjustment to the weather. Because in Iran, we have 4 seasons. Yeah, but here is just 2 seasons and the weather was so hot for me. But I used to it along the time. You know, it was part of the adjustment. The rest was good.
Okay. Tell me about your schooling. Why did you take up nursing?
Uh, well, when to be honest, when I came to the Philippines, I didn't want to study specifically nursing because I wanted to pursue my master degree in business management. But I changed my mind when I was able to pass the entrance exam for the University of the East. I was in Manila for the first sem.
Oh,
So
really?
yes, when I was able to do this, so it was some kind of changing the line. And of course, it was a childhood dreamy as well,
Oh, really?
somehow.
Okay,
Yeah, that I was not able to fulfill it when I was in Iran to enter
I
to the
see.
medical field. Yeah.
Mhm. And how was it overall? Was it a struggle?
For the first semester, yes, it
Mm-hmm.
was quite challenging for me because I was not good in English. I could
Mm-hmm.
read, but not in the, in the way of the academic way. It was challenging for me because I need to translate most of the words, and it was time consuming completely for me. But along the time, I learned, yeah, to be faster, and
Okay.
I stopped translation. I just learned
Okay.
it, whatever you.
How did you manage to do that to improve your English in so short a time?
Mm, how did I manage? So I
Yes.
just kept learning everything by observation and listening. And of course,
Mm-hmm.
I do not hesitate to approach the people and ask for advice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where did you learn your English first?
Um, in the education in Iran, started to learn English as a subject in
Mm-hmm.
middle school, but it's
Okay.
most based off grammar. We do not speak
Yes.
English as a second language. It's quite foreign language for us. So I didn't
Mm-hmm.
use it at all. And even the university,
Mm-hmm.
all the subjects were taught in Farsi. And we had the
Mm-hmm.
English as a subject. Mainly, I learned English in Philippines, practically.
Okay. Wow. All right. You didn't enroll in any English class when you were here?
In Philippines, no, I haven't. I just,
Yeah.
as I mentioned earlier, I jumped in the middle of the ocean without knowing how to swim. Of course, I passed the interview with the teacher during the enrollment. My level of the English was enough to start as a bachelor. So it
Mm-hmm.
was not, and they were not strict actually. I got the good score for the written exam. That's why I accepted. But when it came to the speaking, no, I had the difficulty to express myself properly.
Okay. All right. Mm, let's talk about Iloilo.
Yes, sir.
What brought you to Iloilo?
Oh, actually, it's a bit long story. When I was in Manila, uh,
Mm.
the problem that I had, and it was repeated along the time. My two kids, twins, got sick. They had a
Mm-hmm.
high fever, and then I had to go to the hospital to time with doctors and get the advice.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't
Mm-hmm.
find any reason for having the fever, high fevers. Eventually, one of the doctors told me this is the problem for adjustment for them for the environment and the weather.
Okay. Yeah.
And then he recommended me to move on from the Manila, and they offered me to the north of the Manila. And I checked the
Okay.
Baguio city, yes,
Yeah.
but it was not good at all for me. So one of the friend advised me to see the Iloilo, specifically for CPU for the university. When I came here, I had the interview, everything was good, and then I decided to come
Mm-hmm.
back here and I moved. Yeah, out of 2 days,
Oh,
I
I see.
just make a decision. I just compare two cities together.
Okay. All right. And what was it that attracted you to Iloilo?
Uh, it was easy to move in Iloilo, much more easier to compare with Manila, and the weather was
Mm-hmm.
good. Yes, and of course, CPU. I found very confident
The
in CPU
CVU.
when I had the interview at the international office. Yeah, they explained everything to me very clearly, and they were very welcoming us.
Okay. All right. What was wrong with Baguio City?
Yeah, it was good, everything. Yeah, and of course, it's
No,
very
Baguio
affordable.
City. What was wrong with it?
I have nothing to tell about that because all the objective that I had was met already. All my needs was met. So, yeah, affordable place when it comes to the tuition was good. The place that I
Yes.
rented was near to the CPU, and I was so lucky to have a good neighbor. Yeah, the area that I was
Oh,
living, it was so safe for my children. Yeah.
wait. Baguio City, is that what you're referring to?
Pardon me, sir.
I was asking about Baguio City. Baguio. You did mention about Baguio, correct?
Hello.
Spring. You did mention about Baguio.
Hello. I
Spring, can you
cannot
hear
hear
me?
you. I guess I cannot hear you, sir. Excuse me.
Okay. You went to Baguio, you said?
Yes, yes. I visited Baguio. Yeah.
So what was wrong with Baguio City?
I found it very difficult to live there.
Mhm. Why was that? Spring.
There.
Spring.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Could you go back on that? You found it difficult to live there.
The Baguio was difficult for me because at the evening they used to burn the garbages, and the weather was smoky and
Oh,
was
I see.
triggered the asthma of my daughter.
Oh, I see. All right.
Yes, the problem with
Okay.
the Baguio was this. Although the weather was good, cold, but the air pollution was too much for my kids.
Oh, really?
So they
I
had a
see.
lot of cough there again. Yes.
Okay. All right. Maybe you
Because
should
the
have
reason
moved
that
to a
I
new
leave the
neighborhood.
Manila is was because of the safety of kids when it comes to the
Mhm.
health. That's what it was my concern, not other things. I was able to manage everything there, but I didn't have helper at that time, and it was very difficult to take care of them.
Mhm.
Most of the time, they were sick.
I see. Okay. Hmm. I don't think they allow that nowadays anymore, though.
Um,
Anyway. Mhm.
I don't know, maybe, hopefully, but they had
Yeah.
the problem with the
At the time.
collecting the garbages at the Baguio
Yeah.
at
At
that
the
time.
time.
It
At that
back to
time. Yeah.
2011,
Yeah. That was
2012.
around that time. I
Yeah.
came up to Baguio at around 2010 or 2011. 2010. No,
But
20,
generally, the weather there
2009.
is
Yeah.
cold and it's very
Yeah.
pleasantable. Yeah.
Yeah. They had a big garbage problem at the time I was first there. Yeah. That must have been the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
But nowadays, they don't have that problem anymore. Okay. Spring. Now we talk about it. And before you talk, you have 1 minute to prepare your answer, which we will not do anymore. Spring, you're familiar with this? Spring, can people hear me?
I think I have a problem here with my headset because I lost your voice again, sir. Can you hear me?
There, you're better. Maybe it's a headset problem.
I guess so because I cannot follow you exactly. Sometimes I lost your voice.
Oh, okay. Okay. Spring, let's do a part two. You're familiar with it. Are you okay, Spring?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I would like you to tell me about the time for 2 minutes, Spring. You just tell me a story.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Tell me about the time when you were new to an environment. So I guess that's gonna be Manila, right? Tell me about that story. Are you ready, Spring?
Yes, sir.
Spring, we can hardly hear you. I think you should put a headset on. Spring,
Yes, sir. I'm ready. Can you hear me?
there. You can hear you now.
I will start, sir.
Okay. Yeah, for 2 minutes. Okay.
It's been
Time
a long
starts
ago. Yes. Sorry.
Go.
It's been a long ago. Almost 10 years ago, I came to the Philippines to study, not as a tourist. I came here with my family, with my 2 kids. Before I traveled to Philippines, I had some research about the city, the location that I supposed to arrive, the people, the culture, the environment. I got all information through social media and, of course, Wikipedia. So somehow I can say that I was well informed about essential things that I need to know how to live in Philippines. But when I came, it was a little bit different that I thought. So I had some challenges in life for adjustment for the environment, and I believe that is very normal for newcomer to the new environment. It takes time and it's quite challenging. What I can tell about the first month of my living in Philippines, it was very interesting because I was not able to communicate in the local language with the people. At the same time, I was not good in English, so it was quite challenging for me to be in contact with the people. But I did my best. I never gave up. I talked to the people. I tried to express myself in different ways, and they responded to me very well. And the things that I
Thank you,
really
Spring.
like to.
That's 2 minutes. Okay. You were saying I want to catch up on your final point. The thing you really liked was Spring.
Yes, sir.
What was the thing you really liked?
The things that I really appreciate is that people were very friendly, very accommodating, and never judged me because I cannot talk properly with them, even in their local language or English. They were very respectful, and this is highly remarkable for me.
Okay. So, Spring, it's just a few more questions.
Yes, sir.
What's that noise, Spring?
Sir, excuse me?
I hear a noise.
Sir, I couldn't hear you. Sorry. Could you please repeat the question?
Okay. All right. So we're now moving into part 3. So,
Yes,
Spring,
sir.
we've been talking about the time you you visited a new place.
Yes, sir.
And just a few more questions about it.
Yes, sir.
Spring, why do you think people love moving to new places?
Well, changing the place for the people has the different reasons. Maybe they want to advance their careers, to find a better job opportunity, or they need to improve the level of the education, approach to tertiary education, or they just want to learn more about the other people, other culture as well.
Okay. Do you think younger people are more inclined to do this than older ones?
Nowadays, a lot of changes has been happening due to effect of social media. I don't think so if new generation will be too much obedience. They have the autonomy to make a decision and do whatever they want. And this is because of gap generation. The old people were much more rule-oriented, more disciplined. They were more undisciplined. I think so.
Okay. And do you think that this is a good trend? People moving to all sorts of places around the world.
Yes, I think so. I believe it's a good idea to learn more about other people, other culture, and it's help to the people to get familiar with other nations as well. So there is no boundary due to advanced technology, and I believe that everyone has accessibility to the social media and internet. So there is no boundary anymore. It's good to know about the others. How do they think? How do they will? And it's a good idea to get to know the people with the different walk of life. I look at it as educational. Yes.
Okay. And you mentioned about technology. How has that impacted this trend?
Actually, technology has huge influence on the life of all the people globally. They get a lot of benefits of that. It makes the life very easier and more efficient when it comes to the learning and doing the job.
Okay, all right. And what do you think are the dangers of people moving from one place to another?
Well, generally speaking, the only things that I can mention is if they are not ready for the new environment, they just move without having enough information and knowledge about the place. It could be some risk, potential danger when it comes to the safety and environment. Yeah, this is the only things that I can make it highlight about that.
Okay. And how can a person prepare to avoid such dangers?
There are certain ways that a person can protect himself from being in danger, such as search about the area that they want to go, as well as use the social media and do some research about the background of the culture, the environment, the like and dislike of that place. And there are good data, valid data, I believe, on the social media that everybody can find it easily.
Okay.
And getting advice from the person who has experience already there.
Getting the voice of a person.
Right person, of course.
I see. Okay. Spring, let's talk about tourism.
Yes, sir.
So why do people travel for leisure?
Actually, it's a part of their life. Having the hobby, having the recreational activities is needed, especially these days that everybody is so occupied with the different tasks and responsibility and the pressure that the economy put on the people. So they are very involved with the work and the stress. So traveling, it's one of the way, or even I can say even the best way to reduce or eliminate the stress.
Okay. And you mentioned about the sea view earlier. Why are people so attracted to the ocean?
It's been a belief that the ocean brings the beauty and it's very calming. Even the sound, the vibrate from the sea, it gives the relaxation mood. So that's why the people really like to listen to the music that has an ocean sound, or if they are able to go to the beach and just sit and relax.
Okay.
It's very vibrant.
Yes. Okay. And do you think we should focus on tourism for rest and recreation, or should we focus more on cultural tourism?
I believe both would be acceptable. It's fine because both has their own purposes and benefits. So we cannot separate it from each other. It brings a lot of advantages for the tourists, and in a tourist industry, it will be helpful.
Okay. And finally, Spring, if a
Yes, sir.
person were to visit your country, Iran, what would you recommend for this person?
Well, if somebody has a chance to go to Tehran, which is capital city of the Iran, I will recommend to visit the museum and go to the mountain climbing because it's very attractive. The environment is very greeny, and it's good for the people who loves to be in touch with the green spot, as well as they serve the organic native foods that is cooked by the native people, and it's very tasty. They will have a good time with the food as well. They can enjoy the food, yeah.
Okay. Guys, this is Spring. She's from Iran. Okay, Spring, your power is really in your part 3. You know, I was just typing away.
Yes.
You mentioned about autonomy. Your power is in your vocabularies. You mentioned about autonomy, being rule-oriented. There's no boundary due to the advanced technology. You had collocations like get to know, walk of life. Another vocabulary is educational. It's a huge influence. Valid data, getting the voice of a person who has experience. You mentioned about being occupied with different tasks and responsibilities and the pressure of economics. You mentioned about the ocean being calming and gives a relaxation mode. It's vibrant. You mentioned about the mountains being attractive and greeny. And for people who love to be in touch with their greener spot. Where did you hear that, Spring? People love to be in touch with their greener spot. Where did you hear that?
Sir, I was watching the different YouTube program, actually, different sites.
I see. On speaking, you mean?
Yeah, I just try to practice, but since I knew that the examiner don't like to hear something which is memorized, I try to moderate it, modify it in my own understanding.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm not good in memorizing actually, unless it's be part of my nature. That's why I cannot follow the IELTS format very well. This is my confession. I admit to that.
It's really about the power of your words. You just mentioned moderate and modify, and it being a part of your nature. The vocabularies, they're so critical. Spring, you do have some language problems, but these were overridden by the strength of your vocabularies, explaining your band 7. So you just mentioned about the examiner don't have.
Yes.
So that's a subject-verb agreement problem. So that should have been the examiner does not have.
Yes. I need to pay attention.
Yes. Spring, you also have some systemic errors with regard to the phrase one of the. So remember, one of the is always followed by a plural. So one of the problems, one of the advantages, don't forget that, Spring.
Yes.
One of the is always followed by a plural. There were some phrasal problems like it's been a long ago. So that should have been it's been a long time ago.
Yes, sir.
It's been a long time ago. And perhaps the most discernible error. You know that word, Spring, discernible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. She knows those words, guys. She's very academic. Is the way you pronounce the Philippines. So remember, the Philippines always has an S, and it is
Yes.
always preceded by the.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the Philippines. So
I-
you tend to say Philippine all the time. So that's a very clear error.
it should be S or without S, sir. Philippines
It should
or
have the article the, and it
yes,
should end with
okay.
the S, the Philippines.
The Philippines, yes. Thank you so much
Yeah,
for this reminding me. Thank you.
yeah, the Philippines. I live in the Philippines. I went to the Philippines. In the part one, there were not too much vocabularies. You did mention about your nuclear family. You did say something like affordable and pursue my master's degree. You did say it was challenging and time consuming. So the part one was a peek into what would eventually be the part three. The part three was really where she just poured it on, guys. The part three was the deal breaker, so to speak. She just hit the band seven with her part three. She was just throwing the vocabs, all those
Yes.
synonyms, like moderate and modify. She just threw all those synonyms. It's part of her nature. In the end, your past tenses though for the part one and the part two were really good. So that was an important qualification for the
Thank you
past
so much, sir.
for the band seven. So more or less, that explains your score. You do have some isolated, sporadic. Do you know that word sporadic, Spring?
No,
Sporadic.
sir.
Okay, sporadic means oh my god, how do I define that word? Sporadic means happening occasionally. Yeah,
Okay, sir.
it happens occasionally, from time to time. So you have some sporadic errors, but overall, they were not enough to affect your language ability, thanks in large part to the power of your lexical resource. You're familiar with that criterion? Okay.
Yes, somehow. Yes, sir. Somehow.
Okay. Lexical resource. Your vocabularies. You were trained in an academic environment, like friendly and accommodating. It seems like you're lumping these words together, these synonyms together. The people here are really friendly. They're very accommodating. It's part of you. That saves you. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So, Spring, we still have to work on the other aspects of grammar. So, that's going to be important for writing as well. So, that's something we really have to clear out. You understand that, Spring?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we have to clear that out.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for all your notes.
Hold on, Spring. I'll just end the recording.
Thank you so much, sir.